Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeks Know What They're Talking About. And tonight we're going to have two guests. One is Matt Davis. He's going to be our movie geek. How's it going, Matt?
Hello.
And our comic book geek for tonight is going to be Richard Lepow. How's it going, Richard?
It's going pretty good.
All right, let's start with you, Matt. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Why are you worthy to be our movie geek?
From birth, I was locked into a dark dungeon with only a VCR to teach me the ways of life. So if it's literally not in a movie, I don't know it.
Okay.
I don't actually think I know how to read. I've just memorized enough words in like the openings to movies that I can just piece them together.
Did you have any formal education or?
Yes, I went to school for film and was a film editor after college.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to add?
I truly, truly believe that I am the byproduct of Chuck Norris and Sigourney Weaver.
Sounds good. Good luck tonight. Okay, and moving on to Richard. Richard, why are you our comic book guy?
Well, I mean, I grew up on, kind of Saturday morning cartoons. Like, there was the X-Men and Spider-Man, and there was Batman the Animated Series. I always loved superheroes, the idea of the superhero and comic book characters. And then I think when I got older, basically when I started working and had my own money, I could buy individual monthly comic books on my own and kind of dove even deeper into that world.
Okay. So what we're going to do tonight is I have 5 questions for you guys, and everyone has a minute to answer it. And at the end of your answers, I'm going to decide who gets a point. All right, question number 1 is going to go to Richard.
Yeah.
The best way a villain ever died. And time, go.
Okay, so villains in superhero comics don't really die. I mean, that's why you have recurring villains, because they don't die. They keep, they're sent to jail. They keep coming back. Best way, I think coolest way that I can think of, Punisher threw this like mob goon into a they were fighting in the zoo, and he threw them into the polar bear cage, and the guy was eaten by polar bears.
All right, Matt, movies, the best way a villain has ever died.
I'm gonna have to go with Con Air. So
Okay.
The main bad guy in Con Air, his name is Cyrus the Virus, and he's played by John Malkovich. And the whole plot of the movie is trying to escape prison by taking over a prison's flight. He's also teamed up with a drug dealer. The drug dealer betrays him at one point. John Malkovich figures it out, corners him, and he has him covered in gasoline. And the guy's praying for his life and saying, "Cyrus, Cyrus, please no, Cy, don't do this, Cy." And then the character Cy the Virus finishes with the bad guy saying "Cy" with Nara, throwing a cigarette butt into the gasoline and exploding him. Once you actually hear it all at once, it just goes "Cy, no, Cy," a Nara. Boom.
It's beautiful.
And best movie death ever. Just the time and effort that went into writing that script, and the foresight, genius.
Yes. Well, all right, and exactly on time.
Wow, very good.
Perfect. I'm going to have to say Matt's getting this point. I mean, Richard throwing someone into a bear pit especially when you were talking about superheroes and how inventive it would be, that's probably not the most creative one. So we got 1 for Matt. All right.
I dealt with the card that was handed to me. All right.
Okay. Question number 2. Matt Davis, this is going to be you. The most important woman figure in film history.
Let's go with the mom for Mrs. Doubtfire. Not only was she a single mom raising 3 kids, if I remember correctly, she also had an insane ex-husband who dressed up like a woman and sabotaged her love life. And yet somehow she was strong enough to make it work. So that's a woman in the real world that more women can look up to and realize that you don't need a man to survive. You can do it on your own.
It's true. They don't get back
together.
together.
Insane, furry little hobbit guy who dresses up like an old lady.
the mom and Robin Williams don't get back together in the end.
They don't.
The
She
ha- the
still
happy
goes
ending-
out and stays independent.
The happy ending is that he gets visitation rights.
I know, yeah. She's such a strong-powered woman that she still doesn't take him back after all the shenanigans.
That's right. It's right.
She keeps living her life.
Good for her.
So
Good
go,
for her.
go, girl.
Good
All
for
right.
her.
That makes total sense. There we go. Richard,
Yeah.
most important woman figure in any comic book ever.
Wonder Woman. Easy. She was made during World War II, so I mean, in reality, while the good old boys are fighting the good fight overseas, and the women are taking care of the home front, you have a woman going out and kicking ass and not needing, pretty much for the first time, not needing a man to save her. And she was always saving her boyfriend, who was a World War II fighter pilot. Yeah, she was just tough. She could save the day on her own. She didn't need anyone until she joined the Justice League, and they said, you can join us, but you have to be the receptionist. You can't fight for us. Other than that, you know.
I mean, and the lasso of truth. Other than that, she was totally,
Other than that.
self-empowered.
Okay.
So where did the dominatrix outfit come into in her empowering?
It's just, time's up.
Yep, time's up.
Time's up.
I like how you got out of that one.
Okay, I'm gonna have to give Richard a point on this one.
No!
Yeah, just because you guys both gave a woman that sort of has the same awesomeness, but
but my answer had feminist and societal implications.
And
But mine's more real world.
It's at you know what, Matt? You are absolutely right.
Well,
She didn't need no lasso of truth. Her lasso of truth was her dignity.
Okay. All right. And if you're joining us right now, this is Geeks Know What They're Talking About, and we're here with our two guests, Matt Davis, the movie geek, and Richard Lepow, the comic book geek. The score is 1-1, and we're moving on to the third question. Richard,
Yeah.
what is the best panel
Ooh.
or scene
Yeah.
in a comic book
Comic
that
book.
you ever remember?
Okay. In Watchmen, at the end of Watchmen, you're reading this story about this group of heroes in the 80s who are trying to figure out who's been picking them off one at a time. And you figure out who it is at the same time that they do. And it turns out it's one of their own. And he's concocted this huge conspiracy where this whole story takes place in the Cold War. So he has this plan where he could create a common enemy, not just for the Soviet Union and America, but the entire world. So if this enemy attacks planet Earth, not just one specific country, all of the countries will put aside their differences and come together and fight this common enemy. And he's explaining this to our heroes, and they said, well, we're not going to let you go through with that. And he says, no, I'm not some stupid comic book villain who's going to tell you my entire plan just so you can foil it. I did it 35 minutes ago.
That's a pretty pretty solid.
It's a really gorgeous moment.
All right.
Where the good guys lose.
All right. And now, Matt, your best scene in any movie of all times.
Okay. The best scene in movie history is in Can't Buy Me Love. So it's one of those classic movies where it's like a nerd who's tired of being a nerd. He ends up hiring a girl who messed up a dress. You bought the dress, got her out of it. And the deal was that she had to date him and make him look cool. So again, at one point, obviously a twist, he becomes really cool. He ends up being a jerk to all his friends. And at one point, in a prank, he ends up defecating on one of his friends' house. Later, there's an all-lost moment. He realizes what a jerk he was. He tries to get his friend back. They're at an arcade, and his friend's just trying to ignore him playing the arcade game while he's apologizing. So I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm such a jerk, blah, blah, blah. And the dude just straight blanks looks at him, dude, you shat on my house. Greatest scene in movie history.
You shat on my house. Isn't that Patrick Dempsey?
The delivery is just so point on and how you would actually say it in real life. It's like, dude, you shat on my house.
Not even in it, just on it, like on the roof,
Shat,
on the
the
carpet.
quote is, "You shat on my house."
Okay, I'm gonna have to go with Richard.
Movie magic.
I'm gonna have to go
Ooh,
with Richard
thank
just
you.
because you know
I
how we're all.
described my moment as gorgeous, and Matt, said shit and shat like 10 times.
No, I mean, I think it's that you know how like we're all tired of a countdown to a bomb, and they always stop at 2 seconds, or that
Yeah,
the film
right.
tells you what the plan is, so they went around it, and
So
I
it can
think
be foiled, yeah.
yeah, I think that sounds pretty cool actually. Fourth question. So Matt, something that you know that other people probably don't know. Yeah.
The original script for Predator was actually Rocky versus an alien. So in the 80s, there was a lot of cocaine going around, and so I guess someone greenlit the script where Rocky would actually fight a space alien played by the muscles from Brussels, Claude Van Damme.
Okay.
At some point, they all sobered up and came down. The suit that they had Claude Damme in was just orange and god-awful. You can actually YouTube the clip. And so Sylvester backed out, Claude backed out, and on a plane ride back to the studio trying to recreate the entire monster, the director of the film sat next to James Cameron, who just happened to be like, you know what? I was thinking about adding mandibles onto a monster. What do you think about that? And literally they rewrote the entire script for Predator on the plane ride back to Hollywood.
Mandibles is that creature that has
No, that's the claws on his face, the mouth claws.
Yeah, your mandible is like part of your mouth.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So like like those little like stingery things he has around his mouth. That's James Cameron invented that, and they just rewrote the whole script on the way back. And that's why Apollo Creed, what's his face?
That's right, Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers is in the movie because originally he was going to play Apollo Creed in the Rocky film, and he was the only one that stayed attached.
Oh,
that's amazing!
Wow,
that's so cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
We were one airplane away and one more line of blow away from having Rocky fight a space alien played by Claude Van Damme. Also sounds incredible, but not the muscle mass that's involved with Predator.
Yeah, I don't see why it has to be one or the other. Why don't we have both?
Well, first of all, Predator is an amazing movie. We got Predator, but then 30 years later we got Expendables 2, where Van Damme was the villain. He was the villain,
it's true.
and Rocky. It was Rocky versus Bloodsport. There's a line in that movie where Van Damme he wants to say to Rocky, "Don't challenge me," but English is his second language, so he says, "Don't challenge me," and the viewer is left to pick up the pieces of that sentence to figure out what.
But now just imagine if he was a space alien, how much better?
He would have just said he would have said, "Don't challenge me." Arnold would have probably pronounced it the same way.
Challenge me.
Yeah, don't challenge me.
Okay.
I'm a big Predator fan. That was a good answer, Matt.
All right, Richard. Something that you know that probably most people don't know about comics.
Okay. Matt, ironically, already touched on this, but Wonder Woman was created as a dominatrix in 1940s America. I mean, really, really early on, she was always getting hogtied and hogtying other women. And she would say things like, "I'm going to make you my slave. You need to be more dominant." Her lasso of truth only works on men. And when she throws the lasso of truth around a man, what does the man do to her completely? He submits.
Okay.
So she makes the men her bottom, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if I should take away that point from you.
Yeah, yeah. This is the woman that you were trying to say was the most important woman in comics.
Yeah, she totally is. She totally is. I mean,
by making people their slaves.
That's
more like a gypsy witch.
No, it's like sex slaves. I mean, this was 70 years ago. Yeah, and that wasn't really. No one really talked about that, and that was being put in picture books for children.
I'm gonna have to give this to Matt.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, come on, this is pretty epic. This is I've never heard about this.
Predator's fucking cool.
And we're at a tiebreaker, so this is gonna be the last question. Matt, what is the closest you've ever come to crying in a movie?
Oh.
Can I just say overall Avatar? Can I just throw that out there? This is a viewing experience. Closest I've come to crying in a film, probably have to say Homeward Bound. Shadow, the golden retriever, who's the leader of the bunch. If you've never seen Homeward Bound, you haven't lived as a human being. I feel bad. I weep for your childhood if you haven't seen Homeward Bound. But it's three animals who their owners just go on vacation, but they lose their minds thinking that they're abandoned. So they try to go, instead of eating the couch and pissing on the carpet, they decide to go commando and try to go across country to find their owners. All sorts of shenanigans, events, and trials and tribulations. They finally come within miles of home, and Shadow falls into like a mine shaft.
No.
Sacrifices himself for the other two, the cat and the other dog, voiced by the great Michael J. Fox. Lucky. Sacrifices himself to save the other two and tells them the classic line, "Go on without me." But because it's coming out of the voice of an animal and not some human I don't care about, I came close to crying.
Oh, man.
It all ends perfectly well, though, because Shadow finally, at the last second, when all hope is lost, limps his way out of the horizon to reunite with his family.
Do you remember yourself crying to this?
But you were a kid.
Oh God, yeah.
A kid.
It was like last week. Are you kidding me?
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Okay, that's pretty magical.
Yeah.
All right.
Homeward Bound.
Okay, Richard.
Yeah.
Here we go. The closest you ever came to crying from a comic book, or what was that scene?
Yeah. It was an X-Men Nightcrawler. The death of Nightcrawler. People die a lot in comics.
No, they don't. They shortly die until they're resurrected.
They always come back. They always come back. But when it first happens, it's still really sad. But Nightcrawler had never died. Like all his friends had died and come back.
Who's Nightcrawler?
Nightcrawler is this German like blue person. He's just a blue guy, but he can like teleport. He can teleport around. And he sacrificed himself to save the young mutant Messiah, but he teleported, he disapparated and reapparated in this guy's arm who they were fighting in like some back alley. So when he reappeared, the arm was coming through his chest and he grabs onto the girl who he has to save and he's like, I'm going to die, but give me a little bit of strength in my last moment to get her home safe. Yeah, he brings her home to the X-Men island and he looks at her and he just says it was totally worth it. And I lost it. I totally lost it. And all the X-Men gather around his dead body and just start crying. Like Wolverine is crying, really tough people. I lost it. I totally lost it. And it's just intense.
So between puppies and a blue German appearing and disappearing, I'm going to have to go.
Well, when you put it that way, man.
I think Matt's going to get this one.
Oh, man.
Boom.
Just because of the epicness of that movie.
Talking animals aren't real, and the X-Men are real.
Yeah, you're right. And, very religious blue German people who can stamp.
Yeah, at least in my story, someone died.
No, he didn't, because he was resurrected again.
Well, he died, but you can't be resurrected without being dead.
Okay, well,
Shadow
died. Shadow's dead, by the way.
Shadow died. Shadow is resurrected, but they couldn't fix that leg.
Yeah, someone actually died.
Shadow died, came back, and then was put down.
Yeah, it was put down again. Like Shadow, like right now today, Shadow's dead. Yeah. Nightcrawler's still going strong.
It's true.
All right, so Matt's our winner, and you're going to Middle Earth. Is that where you're
going?
Boom. Yeah. Are you going to take Richard with you?
Matt, I don't know if you remember, but we did make a deal.
No. I have a golden ticket here. I'm turning this into something.
No,
great.
you have two golden tickets. That's the beauty.
One for me and one for someone special. I don't know.
Who are you gonna bring? Who's gonna want to go to Middle Earth with you?
I think the question is who isn't going to want to. I can leverage this into some cool stuff.
All right, Matt and Richard, thank you guys very much. This was another week of Geeks Know What They're Talking About, and Matt's our winner, so have fun in
Hey!
It's a
Asgard
war-torn
and
country.
all those magical places combined. And Richard, you're gonna have to read another comic book that'll make you cry. So
I do it every day.
You are a weeper.
I'm a weeper. Even when things are like, even when Nightcrawler